Today, we thought we will start these sessions. How many of you know the Mangala Sutta, the blessing chant? It's a sutta that is commonly chanted, but how many of you know the meaning of it? Yeah, it's very important because do you know what a blessing is? Yeah, something that is helpful, right? We all want blessings. Do we want blessings in our life? Yeah, so that we can have a good, happy, nice life, a comfortable life. So if you want that, if you want blessings, does it just come because somebody gives you a blessing? Or do we put in the right causes so our life becomes a blessing? I think we are smart enough to understand, isn't it? If we just don't do anything and pray, only it may not just happen by itself. There might be some truth to that, but most importantly, we also need to put some good causes in places so our life has blessings. So in this sutta, the Buddha gives so many blessings. Today we are going to use the first verse, and then we may discuss that first verse, a couple of blessings that are there for today. Does that sound like a good idea? Yeah? So anybody who knows how to chant the first verse, I invite you to just chant this one verse in Pali first. Okay? Asevana cha balana panditana cha sevana puja cha pujaniyana etang mangala mustamam. So the meaning of this, asevana cha balana. So bala means somebody who is a fool, somebody who is unwise. So the Buddha said, do not associate unwise people or fools. We will talk about who is a fool and who is a wise person later. But he says, Panditana Sevana. Pandita is somebody who's a wise person. Says to associate the wise people. And then to pay respects to the ones who are worthy of respects. This will be a blessing to your life. So there are 3 blessings in this first stanza. So we will delve deeper into it later. To start with it, since the kids are also here, we are going to start with a story. There is a story about the elephant in the suttas, but this one is a modified version of that by Ajahn Brahm. And Venerable Upeka will read that story for us and we can discuss the meaning of it. Please come in, join us. Yeah. Okay, no. Okay. So, this story is called The Bad Elephant. A local zoo had a gentle elephant called Ellie. All the little children who came to the zoo loved playing with Ellie. She did not mind the children stroking her long trunk or giving them rides on her strong back. In fact, she liked the attention. Sometimes, when all the children had gone home and it was quiet at night, she looked up into the stars and remembered the big forests where she grew up and roamed free. She also remembered the times she was almost killed by hunters and the days when she went hungry because no food could be found. It was a comfortable life in the zoo with delicious and plentiful food, free medical care, and an air-conditioned enclosure where she could escape the heat of the day. It was a happy elephant. One day, when some school children were teasing Ellie over the size of her ears, she squirted water from her trunk all over them, soaking them all, including their teacher. Later, while her keeper was cleaning the elephant excrement from out of her cage, Ellie pushed the keeper over head first into the pile of poo.
which was large. Ellie was becoming bad. Soon she was throwing rotten food at her visitors and refused to let the children anywhere near her. The zookeepers called in the vet to see if some sickness had made Ellie bad. But the elephant doctor found no sign of sickness. Then they tried an elephant psychologist who suggested menopause just because Ellie was a female, but the doctor soon ruled that out. Meanwhile, Ellie was becoming more ill-tempered by the day. Then someone suggested that it might be a spiritual crisis, a sort of elephantine dark night of the soul. So they called in a monk. The venerable monk would only come late in the evening after his duties were completed. So, late one night, when the zoo was closed to visitors, the monk meditated alone in the dark, just outside Ellie's enclosure. Around 11 p.m., the monk's meditation was disturbed by the sound of low, menacing whispers and demonic laughter. The ghost? Were these the sound of vampires? These were right behind Ellie's enclosure. The monk rose from his meditation and went to find out. The monk saw that a gardening shop backed on the zoo. And in the rear of the shop's yard, right behind where Ellie was sleeping, some shifty men and women were having a secret meeting. Creeping closer, the monk could hear that they were drug dealers discussing their evening's nefarious business. The jar to put flowers in was not the only pot that was being sold in that shop. The dealers were also discussing the vicious punishments to be given to those who could not pay their drug debts. The cause of Ellie's change in character now became clear. The following evening, the police were waiting for those drug dealers and arrested them all. In their place, the monk arranged some of his friends to meditate and talk of all the kind and generous things that they had done or planned to do, and how they would forgive those who had let them down. They also softly chanted the verses on spreading love throughout the whole world to all beings, especially to elephants. Ellie started to become kinder and more gentle. After a few days, she was back to her old lovable self, happily playing with even the naughtiest of children. That story is adapted from an old tale taught by the Buddha. It shows how even animals are influenced by the behavior of others. So, if you have a partner who is becoming more ill-tempered by the day, or a teenage son or daughter who is driving you crazy, lock them up in a monastery for a few days. Either they will become soft or kind like the monks, or maybe the monks might become ill-tempered like them.
Thank you, Venerable. So the kids, did you get the idea what happens Can you understand? Yeah, what happened? Like when you hear good things, when you see good people, it conditions you, isn't it? Yeah, at the same time, if you see people who get angry, who speaks in a bad way, before you know it, you realize you do the same. Have you noticed sometimes you laugh like somebody else or your friend? Or walk like them? Do things like them? No. Then you reflect and you will see. So who you associate, without knowing, we start doing that too. So we have to be very careful. Do you have something to say? Do you have a story to share?
Sorry, I was just listening to and reflecting on it. No, I think thank you very much.
Yeah.
No, I think it is all
Yeah.
self-explanatory.
Yeah.
The main thing is again when you hear the teaching, look at your own life and see whether what's relevant to you. We like the story, but ultimately we have to look if it's true. The Buddha didn't say that if you believe in blind dating, same with the story too. You know, you can really see in your own life how it is true. So thank you very much.
Yeah. So I want to expand on this idea. So it starts from since we are young, like who our friends are. So it's really important that we are careful with who we make friends with. Is that true? Yeah. Do we play the same games which our friends do sometimes? Do you start liking the things our friends like also? Does that happen? Yes. So if our friends do good things, that's good for us, isn't it? But if we get with the wrong crowds, we might end up getting into trouble. This happens, isn't it? Sometimes it's because of our friends wanted to go and do some naughty thing. You also end up following them and getting into trouble. So it is very important to remember this in our life. It is not a small thing. It is not a small thing. Yeah. So this is the main thing that we want to talk about. But let's say, who is a fool? Who is considered somebody who is bad? What do you think? What kind of person would be somebody who's not good to associate? Yes?
These names.
Yes, mean to somebody, yes.
A criminal.
A criminal, okay. Somebody who's done a criminal act. Yeah. It's good to distinguish between, isn't it? Because sometimes there are people, they're not necessarily really bad people, but sometimes due to conditions and situations, they might do something bad. So a criminal action, but they have the potential to become good. But when you label somebody as a criminal, it also becomes difficult. But of course, if they're doing some things that are bad, that the law will punish, which is called a criminal act, definitely not to associate. What else? What do you think?
Angry and abusive.
Huh?
Angry and abusive people.
Angry and abusive people, yes, yes. So, do you want to hear what the Buddha said? What a fool is? So the Buddha said, Bhikkhus, the fool has these three characteristics of a fool. So this comes in the Numerical Discourses, book number 3, sutta number 3. Marks of a fool, manifestations of a fool. What three? Here a fool thinks badly, speaks badly, and acts badly. If the fool did not think badly, speak badly, and act badly, how would wise people know of him? This fellow is a fool, a bad person. But because the fool thinks badly, speaks badly, and acts badly, wise people know of him. This fellow is a fool, a bad person. These are the fool's three characteristics of a fool, three marks of a fool, and a manifestation of a fool. Anyway, the summary is, so how you think, how you speak, and how you act. Is that going to hurt yourself and hurt somebody else and hurt both? Can you understand that much? When somebody speaks, is it hurting oneself or hurting another person or both? If somebody is behaving like that, speaking like that, or if you realize that they think like that, or if you are like that, then you know I'm being foolish, isn't it? So this is really important to understand. So we too must not think like that, act like that, and speak like that, so that we can be a good friend, a wise friend for others. And we also need to hang out with people who think in a good way, who speaks in a way that is kind, in a way that is gentle, speech that goes to the heart, speech that is useful and beneficial, isn't it? Do you like to hear when people speak stupid things, just unnecessary things, just talk for the sake of talking? Or do you like to listen when somebody speaks something that is useful, something beneficial, something helpful, something kind? It's good, isn't it? So if you find this kind of people, they are good people to hang around. That is a wise person. A wise person thinks well, speaks well, acts well. Now, how do you know how somebody is thinking about? You don't have psychic ability, right? But can you look at the face and sometimes see? Sometimes you get to understand, right? Not always, but you can see somebody who is thinking in bad ways. It's shown in the face. It's nice to learn to read a little bit of body language, because this day, as we are getting used to so much devices, we are losing that human contact. Because sometimes communication is not just words. And this is a really important thing to remember. Sometimes we get so hooked up into paying attention to the meaning of the words. I will tell you something. Now, if I ask you the question, there are few people whose first language is English, but there's a large number of people here whose English is the second language. Is that true? Yes, myself included. So if you hear this, like you said, I asked somebody to do something, or I told somebody to do something. Do you understand whether there's a difference or not? Is there a difference? What is the difference?
One is the request, one is the command.
I see. That's wonderful. Excellent. Excellent. You know, I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I could use it intermittently. That's how much little attention I have paid to those things. Ask and told seemed like the same thing to me. I didn't pay too much attention about this. So when I'm conversing with somebody, I said, I asked them to do, or I told them to do, meant the same thing to me. I didn't pay enough attention. This can happen. I'm just saying, sometimes we might not make the distinctions, and what you said is true. One is a request, one is a command, but there could be somebody like me who may not get the subtle difference between the two, and you might use that conversation. But if you really only pay to the words I said, somebody might get very upset. Oh, they told me. They commanded me to do it. They should have asked me. So if you really pay only attention to words, because sometimes we're in a multicultural society, where we're speaking different languages, our relationships to words and sentence structures can be quite different, right? The way we express can be different. So very quickly, by just listening to words, we can misunderstand and get very upset. And this can easily happen in a family, at work. Are you getting the point that I'm making? But if you are able to learn to also listen to the heart, can you also listen as you're listening to somebody? Where are the words coming from? Is that possible? It is possible, isn't it? Even though the word might have a different meaning or something a bit stronger, you can also hear the heart of the person, what they're trying to say. If you're able to listen to the heart or where the word is coming from, you might not get more upset. Is that true? And this is where it is important. So communication, speech, where these are coming from is really important.
And also you can see the intention behind it.
Exactly.
You need to see the intention
Yeah.
behind it, yes.
So this is where I'm trying to say, learning to listen properly, also with body language. Yeah, body language, not just with the ear, but also with your eyes. And you listen with your eyes. This is really important. Yeah. If you only listen with your ears, you will misunderstand many things. I think last time also maybe I said human beings are like this. Yeah. Human beings think one thing, say something else, and go and do something yes different. Is that true? This is very common about human beings. So this is also where if you want to be skillful about somebody, choosing a friend, even being true to yourself, you need to pay attention to these things. Yeah. So this is also because sometimes it's hard to choose some people. They would say things that you would be, and they might be not telling the truth, not telling what they mean. But if you learn how to really communicate with the whole body, be there, understand that skill, you can really understand who is a good person, who is not such a good person, because this is important for us. If we choose our friends, especially our partners, in an unskillful way, who is going to be in trouble? We are going to get into trouble. So this is an important skill to learn. Because the teaching here, if you want that blessing, association of good people and wise people or fools, makes a big difference to our life. It is quite a deep teaching. That is the conditionality, like we get conditioned by the situations that we are faced, people we hang around with, things we watch, things we read, right? All of those things change the way we think about things, the way we talk about things, the way we do things. It is really important to choose wisely. Kids, do you get the point? Yeah. Is that important? Do you understand? Yeah. This is the first advice. This is the first blessing. Usually the Buddha gives the very most important ones first. At one time, his attendant, Venerable Ananda, says to the Buddha, Bhante, I think 50% of the holy life is about good friendships. And the Buddha says, don't say that, Venerable Ananda, don't say so. It's actually 100%. Yeah? 100% of the spiritual path is based on good friendships. That's how much our friends influence us. This is so important to see also as children leave school. Sometimes, depending on the crowds they get into, people end up going into drugs, going into doing bad things just because of friendships. We have seen that as we come into new societies, the people, what they do, sometimes we pick up, maybe you didn't do fishing, before, but because of the friends that you got into, went fishing, you go fishing also and break the first precepts. Or sometimes because of friends, you start going hunting or gambling or so many other things, isn't it? Unnecessary things can happen because we get so influenced by people. So especially coming into a new place, and stuff like that, it is very important. What things do we take up? What things we leave to one side? Yeah, what to associate and what not to associate makes who we are. Later down the track, we don't know why this is happening. So therefore, this is the small lesson that we want to share. Now it's going to be kind of 6 o'clock. I don't want to talk too much. Just one small thing for one day, one little lesson to remember to remember to choose your friend wisely and also become a good friend. By how do you become a good person? Thinking in a way that is not harming yourself and not harming others. Thinking in a way that is not harming yourself and not harming others. Doing actions in a way that is not harming yourself, not harming others. And hang out with people who are also like that. Okay? So I think this much is enough for the whole. Is that enough? Is that a good lesson? Do you remember the story of the elephant? What happens to Ellie? Even the elephant, by just listening to the robbers, she became quite naughty. And then listening to the monks and good things, she became good again. It is true with your pet dogs as well sometimes. You will notice it is actually true. They sink into our vibes. They can feel us. They know when we are angry. They know when we are sad. They know when we are happy. Also little children, like the really little ones. Also the parents, if you also have a really little kid at home who didn't come for the session, you will see if you come home quite stressed, annoyed and upset, they will put up a tantrum. Is that true? Do you remember this? When your kids are little, they sink into your vibes. If you are calm, if you're kind, if you're peaceful, they are also peaceful. So that is also the best way to educate our children, give them good qualities, is by how we are. That's the best way. Like if we are peaceful, they pick up on you. But if we are also having these kinds of unwholesome skills, because you are their immediate associate, isn't it? You are their immediate friend. So this is really important. So we want to educate our children, give the best to our children, make their life better. Then the parents are their immediate friend, immediate person they associate with. So by developing good qualities yourself, that's the best gift you can give to your children, more than money, more than education, more than anything else, the good qualities that you give from yourself. Okay, so now we will do the little mindful exercise with Link. How was the exercise? Was that okay? Yeah, right. Yeah. It is important to know in life, even in the busy day, to do any stretches. It doesn't matter what you do. Whatever way you move your body with a bit of breathing gives a break to your crazy mind, the stress in the day. And it's actually very helpful. Somatic movements are very, very helpful way of dealing with life. Yeah. Okay, so any questions about the topic? Do not associate the fools, but associate the wise. Any questions that come up in your mind about this? Any challenges about this? Is it easy to do or is it a bit hard? Yes.
That's a very good thought
Yeah.
has been shared
Yeah.
to associate with the good.
Yeah.
So, and also how you should always think good, speak good,
Mm.
act good. It happens naturally. If you are thinking and speaking good, so it happens naturally. And accordingly, you want to get associated with good people.
Yeah.
What about the reverse? If there is some
Yeah.
people who want to associate with you,
This is the challenge, isn't it?
Challenge.
Ah.
now what should we do?
That's why I asked this question
Yeah.
for you to think about it, because it's not sometimes within our control, isn't it? Sometimes in our family itself, there are people who can be considered fools according to the way the Buddha speaks. Or at our workplace, we can't just completely avoid them, right? So what do we do?
Especially with kids.
Kids, yeah.
Difficult.
It is.
And,
Exactly. It's very true. So there is solution. Of course, we have to have a solution. Otherwise, it's no hope. It's not that we can really cut out all the bad people, only good people get together. There's no such thing. And people change as well from time to time. Yeah, we change as well. So this is very important skill. So now, when you see somebody let's say in your family or at your workplace, you come to hear that this person actually steals things. How do you feel? Your reaction is, oh, he's a robber, she's a robber. I don't want anything to do with this guy, and you want to sort of, oh, they lie. They're constantly lying. You discover that they're lying. Then again, you feel really don't want to do anything, right, with that. These kind of feelings come, kind of remorse or, not kind of feeling comes. So how do you deal with it? So the Buddha said a very, very beautiful sutta. This comes in the Anguttara Nikaya Numerical Discourses, book number 5. I can't remember the sutta number. I can give you later on. It is called Removing Resentment. Even though the sutta is like that, it gives a very good idea how to deal or how to associate in the good way. So the Buddha says, if there is somebody that you know, there are 5 different kinds of people. All of us belong to be one of those. Okay? So there are some people, they do bad things by body. Now, according to the teachings of the Buddha, what are the bad things that you do by body? Killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. If anybody is doing these 3 things, they are known to be doing things that are bad by the body, unskillful, hurtful for themselves and others. If you come to hear somebody is like this, the Buddha says, this was for the monastic, so at the time of the Buddha, robes, the material, the cloth was very, very expensive and very rare to find. So of course, you have to go to charnel grounds where the dead bodies are wrapped up in cloth. So you have to just pick up that kind of cloth. But of course, that's quite dirty, right? Because it's covered in dead body. So you just use your feet and you spread the piece of cloth. And when you see any part that is clean, you rip that part up and take it with you. And then you clean it and you put it together. That's why our robes have pieces. Yeah? It's made up of pieces. Yeah, even nowadays we wear like that because you just have all these little pieces, you patch them together, so you have a patchwork robe. So you are in a need of a robe, so you just take the good piece. And whatever is dirty, you leave by the side of the robe. That's what the Buddha said. So if you are in need of a robe, take just the good part, leave the rest behind. In the same way, if you see somebody who do bad things by body, but their speech is good. Sometimes you meet these people. They can be robbers. They can be, doing adultery. They could be killers even. But sometimes there are people like that, but they're very gentle in their speech. They can be kind. They can be truthful also. There are people like that. So just the Buddha says, focus on their good speech. Do not pay attention to their bad actions. The second kind of person, they don't do anything bad by body. So they don't steal, they don't have sexual misconduct or kill. But their speech is unacceptable. This is quite common. They yell, they lie, they have harsh speech, they divide people up, they create disharmony, all of those kinds of people. But they don't do the stealing, killing, none of those. So then the Buddha's simile is, you are extremely thirsty. It's a really, really hot day. And you come across a pond. And the pond is covered in algae. But if you're thirsty, what should you do? You just push away the algae with your hands. And with your cupped hands, you drink some water and subside your thirst. So in the same way, when you see such a person whose speech is really bad, they lie, they divide people, really you feel like really not good, so don't pay attention to that side, because that's not useful for you. But pay attention, at least they don't kill, they don't steal, they don't do these other bad things by their body. So look at, in fact, they might even be doing good things by their body. They might be very generous, they might be very helpful, they might do good things in action. So focus on that side. The third kind of person is a little bit harder. That's the person who do bad things by body, bad things by speech. So quite a big fool, right? Quite an unwise person now. But sometimes, such people you see, from time to time, they have kind thoughts. They have an opening in their mind. They might, you can see some goodness in them. It's hard to see, but there are people. If you look hard, again, the Buddha says, you are really thirsty. It's a really hot day. But what you come across is a small muddy puddle. Now, if you try to drink water with your cupped hands from the muddy puddle, what would you be drinking? Mud. But then the Buddha says, go down on all your fours. Like go down like a cow onto the ground with your tongue, just lick the top layer because the top layer of water is still clean. So if you are really thirsty and if you need a drink, then you can have a little bit of water. So again, it's hard to do, right? It's really hard to do. So again, if you have in your family or at workplace this kind of quite a difficult person, again, what the Buddha says is, it's no point in paying attention to their bad side, but whatever little good they have, if you can see, you need to work quite hard to look into the good side of that person. Only pay attention to that. Hard to do, but and then the Buddha says, then there is the fourth kind of person. That is the person who's completely like bad by body, bad by speech, quite bad in their mind. Then had the idea of seeing somebody who is very sick and he's walking by the highway. These two cities are on either side, it's too far away, and you know this person's going to die without getting any help. How do you feel? You feel compassion? You want to help this person? Especially if you know that they have done many bad things. If they die, what kind of destination are they going to have? Are you going to say, yes, you deserve it, you need to be punished? Is that your response? Why not? Why did they do those foolish things? Why did they say those foolish things? Condition, right? We talked about conditionality, the power of conditionality. So I'm going to stop here and tell you a story to make this point because this is really important. This is the Buddhist teaching of non-self, quite a deep concept to get our head around, and it also shows the power of association. So if one thing that you want to learn in life to help yourself, this is a very important point. So this is a story about a little girl and a little boy. Did I tell you this story last time? No. Okay, so there was a little girl and a little boy, maybe about 4 years of age or something like this. You've seen little kids that age? Very sweet, aren't they? They're very sweet. They can play together, even they don't speak the language. They can really work together. They're very nice kids. So the little boy was the farmer's son. The little girl was the daughter of the owner of the general store. So the farmer goes to the general store once a month to buy all the things he needs. So while he's doing business, the two kids are playing. So the little boy sees that the winter is now coming and the little girl didn't have any socks. So he goes home and tells his grandma to knit a pair of socks. So the next time they come, the little boy gives a little gift. We all like to get a gift, right? So the little girl was so happy. She put on the socks and started to dance. So her father, the general store owner, is rich, much more rich than the farmer. He was very angry. He gave us back to the little girl and said, why did you have to get a gift from the poor farmer's boy? How many pairs of socks do you have in that cupboard? Take it away and give it back. So of course the little girl started crying. The little boy started crying. And that was just an incident. These things happen, isn't it? I mean, this is not very uncommon. We see these kind of things, or even worse happen in lives. That was just an incident. So later on, the boy grew up. He went to the city to learn, go to university. He became a professor. Once he retired, in his old age, he came back to the village. He used to grow up as a little boy. You could see that general store still there, now much bigger with many more people working. He goes inside to have a look. He had memories of being there as a little boy. And behind the counter, there was an old lady who was shouting and screaming bad things to all the workers. Who do you think that is? That little girl. They're grown up now. So this is not to say that she became like that because of a bad father or whatever, the abuse, but that can contribute. We can't never pinpoint one thing and say you are like that because of this. It's multiple causes and conditions, sometimes from this life, sometimes from previous life, but this is to show even these condition us. But can you actually blame the father for being an abusive father? Why was he like that? Also causes and conditions, isn't it? Causes and conditions. Can you see what the pandemic did to us? The way we think, what we call as new normal. Yeah. So many changes in our lives, isn't it? The way we do things, the way we think things. The world pandemic changed us. I don't know whether you were in any tsunami affected areas or whether some of your families were. In Sri Lanka, the tsunami affected in a big way, or somebody nice coming into the world, the Buddha arising in the world will condition us. So do you get the point how much we get conditioned by things that are happening globally, locally, in the family? So it's not just, all of those associations. The movies that come out, we just simply watch. But do you see sometimes you act out the movies? We do. Think in that way. So it is very, very dangerous. If we are not careful, if we are unrestrained, watch everything we see, hear everything we hear, without any guard, it can, without knowing, after a little while, change our psyche, change our choices, change. So we do have a choice, but our choice is conditioned. Check this one out next time. Why do you like certain kind of food? Why do you not like another kind of food? Why do you like to dress in a certain way, not in another way? Why do you like a certain brand of car, a certain kind of watch, whatever it is? Check. It is condition. Something you heard, something review you heard, whatever your friends said. It's like that, isn't it? Check that. So we feel like we have free will. Did you decide to come here today? Was it your free choice? It feels like that. But is it really? Not really, because you thought it's good to learn the teachings of the Buddha. There is an opportunity. You heard about it. And you decided, but it was conditioned. But if you thought, no, I don't want to listen to Buddha's teachings. I'm not ready to get enlightened. I want to still experience life and have a bit more fun and games. If you got conditioned like that, you won't be sitting here on a Sunday afternoon, right? So can you see? It is important to reflect like that. So our associations is what conditions are. So who we are, this is the idea of non-self. It's not that there is nobody here, there is, but who is here is conditioned by what happened, not only this life, but many lives before. So when you see like that, can you understand those very bad people also? Why do they do like that? Things that happened to them, things that they heard, they went through, karmic consequences, also from our side as well. So when you see like that, yet the intentional actions have consequences, right? That is the idea of karma in Buddhism. Are you all familiar with the idea of karma? The intentional actions have consequences. Yet our intentional actions are conditioned. Seems very unfair, isn't it? Samsara seems very unfair. But the good news is, we have conditioned for doing good and bad. That's how long we have been in samsara. So conditioning to kill or not to kill, we have both. But the importance of mindfulness is for this. When we have mindfulness, then we are able to guide our choices and bias our choices towards the good condition and leave behind the bad side. You get it? Yeah. Otherwise, it will be like we are fated from what happened in the past. We'll just run through the fate. But it's not true. Then enlightenment is not possible. Change is not possible. But we know enlightenment and change is possible, but only if we have mindfulness. Now, on the way here, Praveen was asking me about Sati Sampajanya. So this is this mindfulness and clear comprehension. So mindfulness, the starting phase of mindfulness, is not just an awareness. The awareness is there, but not just the awareness, but to also know why and how. So what are we doing? Why are we doing? And how are we doing? This is really important. So this is where we can make an informed choice. So we have choice, but we can bias towards a good condition. Otherwise, if we are mindless, habits and instincts drive us. So at any time in your day, most of the time, we're just driven by our habits. We just do what our parents did, our friends did, or whatever we learned. We just run that. Is that true? Reflect back and see. This is what we do. We just mindlessly just do. As long as they're good things, we are okay. But sometimes we pick up bad things too, bad habits also. And if you do it too much, you just do it by habit, even the way you respond to something. Not respond, react. Do you see the difference between reaction and response? What's the difference?
The response would be you're doing it by yourself, mindfully.
Yeah.
And
reaction
would
pretty
be
automatic.
automatic.
Yeah, very quick. Yeah. So that's very important to know. Do we mostly have reactions or responses?
Reactions.
Often reactions, isn't it? Because when we are tired, we just go about the way. Somebody press a button, think something comes out. Somebody says something, a response comes out. Have you ever catch yourself talking before you even think? It's as if your mouth had a life of its own. Yes, start talking, saying things halfway through. Catch, what am I saying? How am I saying? My goodness. Has that happened to you? Yes, yeah. Sometimes when you're mindless, the way you normally respond and normally react would kick in. But if you're mindful, then you can do a skillful response. Is that important?
Yeah.
This is really important. But this is how you take care of your association. So sorry. Yeah.
So I guess my question was about how to break the habits, right?
Yeah.
And kind of answer is to be mindful.
Hmm.
So how to be mindful all the time?
No, that's very difficult. Yeah, that's not going to be so easy, but it is possible. Okay, so becoming mindful is not through act of will. If you try to really act of will, try to be mindful, you're going to be very, very tired and you're not going to be able to sustain. This is the wrong way of trying to be mindful. Mindfulness comes up when you know how to relax. This is why meditation. This is why from time to time to just stop, even for a little while, breaking that momentum is so helpful. When you learn how to stop, when you learn how to relax, then the mindfulness wakes up. The energy of the mind comes up. You need mental energy. You need a lot of joy come up in your mind. So this is where the whole spiritual part kicks in, yeah? So you need to have generosity, an open heart, virtue, like how you behave, how you act, all that goodness in yourself. This is what empowers our mind. That gives energy. When the mind has energy, then there is mindfulness. That is how the actual mindfulness comes in. But there is another way to do this as well. I mean, that is one way. But I will tell you the association, because we were talking about the power of association. Now, I will tell something about my own life that was difficult. Because speech is very hard, isn't it? Speech is extremely hard because you just speak very quickly. So I realized when I was doing a building project, I was quite tired as well. So it is easy when the workers don't do things to get a little bit annoyed and also to talk to them a little bit too strongly at times, you know. I was at the time quite a young nun too, but whatever it is, I realized, you know, that that was a bit difficult for some people. This is not the best way to deal with things, but you know, that's common in the world. This is how when you are at the leadership role or the team leader, sometimes we behave like that, but it's not very skillful. You know, there's much better ways to deal with a team. But this was not my strength. My speech and my way of communication, I'm not a people person. I'm a task-oriented big picture category. I don't know, there are categories of people. If you're engineers, you would have had some education at your workplace about different kind of people. Yes, there are big task-oriented big picture. So for me, people are like robots. in general, in the past, that's how it was. So just you forget about the people. But that's not the best way to deal with it. It's actually getting things done isn't so important. People are much more important than getting things done. So I realized this. So I now wanted to change the way I interact with people. I wanted to have a better way of communication. But in the beginning, I really tried, really tried to be alert, not to react too quickly, to respond in a way that is not so skillful. So hard. Every time I felt just like a plate of food came and fell on my face. Exactly like that. Because I don't want it. I feel ashamed. But it's so hard to change. Speech habits are very hard to change. But I was motivated to want to change. Do you know what worked? What worked was I also found few other people. Actually, in our nuns community, there are some nuns who are very good with people. They have very good ways of communicating. The way they look, the way they speak, the kind of words, even the sentence structure is quite different. So all I did, this is after the building project. I mean, then I decided, so I was not working so much. I was not so tired. So I was in the background. So I would be the support staff now. Somebody else was the leader. So then I would watch them. I would from a stand back position, just keep observing, just gently observing. So as I appreciate without knowing, my speech has changed. My way of behavior has changed. And unfortunately, when Rebecca is not here, if she was here, she would be laughing. She's somebody who's very close to me. I've known her since she was a layperson or already more than 25 years. And she's somebody I would directly give instructions. Rebecca, go and get that. No problem. Not nice thing to do, but I'm very close. You know how it's like with close people. You can tell, and I can, that's not what I asked you to get. I can tell her that as well. Oh, I never ask her, can you do it? Go and do it. Get it done. This is how I used to talk to her. I'm not proud of myself, but this is how it was. She's very sweet, she's very kind, she'll do it without getting upset. But one day she had a shock. She stopped and asked, Renuka, Karunika, did you say, are you happy to do this? Did you say that? Are you sure, are you okay to do this? I have said that. She was shocked that this kind of vocabulary was now coming out of me. Are you happy to do this? Can you do this? Are you okay to do this? Is this how you would like to do this? This was never in my system. But now, after associating somebody else who was communicating with the team like that, I have become like that because I wanted to be like that. I appreciated that. I associated that. Yeah. As that person was communicating like that, behaving like that, even the way you make eye contact like that, the gentleness just got imbued by association. I didn't effortly try. Yeah, that's why she had a shock. I also had a shock. Oh, yeah, actually, I said that. But I meant that too. Yeah. So that is why association is really important. Association of really good people, wise people, just by being with them, you get conditioned. Now I'm going to tell something that is important. If you want to become a stream leader, that's the first stage of enlightenment. We all want that, right? We all want that. So there are 4 factors. They're called Sotapatti Anga. First one is association of Sappurisa, that means enlightened or Aryans or wise people or good friends. Second one is listening to the good teachings. Third one is wise attention. Fourth one is applying yourself. Don't worry about all of those. I want to make one point. Actually, so when you associate good people or the Aryans, usually the purpose of them is to listen to good Dhamma because that's how you normally hear the Dhamma. But the Buddha is never superfluous because there is good Dhamma as a second point. Right? But these days you can get the good Dhamma from by reading also. Even in the time of the Buddha, even if it is not an Aryan, like an enlightened being, even just an ordinary person also can just recite the suttas and you can hear the Dhamma. So you can get the Dhamma. But why is that association of an Aryan there, a good person there? Because if you are in presence of these good people, something gets imbued inside of you by this association, by hanging around. Yeah. So when you hang around gentle people, kind people, soft people, honest people, wise people, it tends to really rub off on you and gently you become like that. Opposite is also true, right? So that is where when you recognize somebody has this kind of unskillful, because that was a question, unskillful things, then you tell yourself, okay, these things I do not want to take up. These are dangerous. Therefore, you tell your mindfulness, okay, I'm not mentally associating or appreciating these things, but rather I will intentionally look at anything that is good about this person. It's quite hard. So, of course, if at all possible, avoiding is important. But if you can't avoid and have to be with those people, then try and just pay a lot of attention to their good qualities. Then that will help you, that will rub off you. Anything that is bad, tell your mindfulness, this is not something I want to pick up. So it's very, not easy in the world. Yeah, not easy in the world, but possible. But we need to do that. Otherwise, we just stay like that. We just go into any direction. If we are lucky and get into the good crowds, we'll end up being good. But if we hang out with the wrong crowds, before we know it, we'll get into big trouble. So it makes a lot of sense, isn't it? So this is really good.
Yeah, I was thinking this was an excellent talk again. But again, when I was a teenager, like many teenagers, I used to criticize my mother a lot. There comes a time to criticize. My mother used to say to me, "Did you ever see me do it?" I had to shut up. I have to be quiet. So again, how we behave, not only what we say, but how we behave, is a big influence on other people. It's our gift to humanity. It's our gift back to the Buddha. So don't think, you are doing nothing and not teaching and not doing this and not doing that. No, it's your behavior and your straightforwardness. And I had another friend who used to say to me, at the end of the day, are you able to look into the mirror and not regret anything? At the end of the day, look at it. How did I behave today? I'm not saying that to be proud or anything, but was I reasonable? Okay. And if you're not, make amends. Forgive yourself, forgive others, and try to make up. That's my recipe.
Yeah. And this is important. So this is very helpful about association. It's a very powerful thing to understand. Yeah. And this is important when you understand about association for forgiveness. Yeah. So when we have done something that we are not proud of, which we inevitably will be doing, continue to do also some things, because until fully enlightened, we will make silly mistakes. We can't avoid it. That's the nature. But when you do that, check back and see what led me to think in that way. What views did I take up? What kind of perceptions do I have? Yeah? Why did I behave in a way that is unskillful? Then you see, you are also conditioned. So you can forgive yourself the same way you can forgive another person. But then you can put in the right causes. Just like I was telling how I realized, achieving perfect goals is not what life is about. How you do it and how you treat other people, that's what matters the most. And also, if you look up some near-death experience stories, you will get to hear this. Every single person who's had a full near-death experience, they see a whole life review. Do you know about this? Have you heard about this? So when they have a whole life review, what they see, most of their life is about their just behavior day to day, how they talk with their family, how they talk with their people at work, because this is most part of our life, isn't it? So as a third person, you see like a movie star, how you behave, like how you think and how you actually acted, because we always justify our behaviors inside of us. But we see how it is and the impact it had on other people, in our team members. So once they came back, they realized there's many things to change, because it's how you treat other people matters a lot. When they get hurt, when they get upset, it's not worth it. Getting that perfect job done, not wasting money, being on time, all of those things are not really important. Unfortunately, this is how we are trained, right, at work to, work like that. But yes, of course, that can be done, but much more important how we deal with our people, especially as a team leader, or at home, how you deal with your children. But it is easy to say, hard to do. Why is that? Because when we are tired, when our mental energy is low, it is very hard for us. So the old habits come up, and we just behave in a way that is not skillful. But if we are able to rest, not do too much in our life, build up our mental energy, which is so important in life. Yeah? So very important. Anything that I want to repeat every session is this factor. To have more rest, have more joy states by building up your mind from simple things, little acts of kindness, a small smile, a little smile, smile more. Why is nobody smiling? Does it cost? Is it too painful to smile? It isn't. How do you feel when you smile? Your mind uplifts, right? Why don't we smile? It is actually nice. And when somebody else sees a smiling face, it helps them to smile. But when somebody sees a grumpy face, they want to avoid you. Right? This person is not in a good mood. I'll go the other way around, right? It's true. Simple thing like that uplifts your mind, brings up mental energy. But what if you just did an act of kindness, open the door for somebody, gave them a bottle of water, whatever it is, you feel good straight away, right? And the other person feels good. These are small acts, but they build up the mental energy. But when you have mental energy, then you can act in a way that is kind, act in a way that is good. Also, you can associate people in a good way, because otherwise very hard. It's very easy for us to focus on the one or two or three bad things of a person. It also comes from our sense of self, right? Oh, they're bad, I'm better than them. They are this, I'm better than them. That kind of feeling is also what highlights the one or two or three bad things of a person. But if you really look at people, most people in our lives have quite a lot of good qualities too. I mean, of course, there are, really difficult and bad and not so good people in the world. But in general, there are quite a lot of people who we meet who have quite good qualities. But we still manage to look at the one or two bad qualities and ourselves as well. We sometimes beat ourselves up as well for our one or two or three bad qualities. Not good as well, isn't it?
We are like prisoners to our own judgment.
Yeah, it is actually, it is really, really this. So anyway, these are the few things that I wanted to say. What would you like to say? Yes. Yes.
So you talked about the last person who is very sick.
Yes. Yeah, I forgot to finish. Yes. Thank you. So of course, so this is how we can forgive that difficult person. So that was the person who was having bad speech, bad action, bad mind. But even though they've done all these bad things, they have done that because of past conditioning. Yet they have to reap the karmic consequences. So our response is compassion. Yeah. Not saying, oh, you deserve to be punished, you stupid person. You did so many bad things, now go to hell. That's not our response. We feel compassion. So you wish them well. You wish, may they have good associations. May they grow in wisdom. May good things come to them. May their bad karma ends and something good may happen to them. Yeah, so you can respond with contact. So I only went up to 4 people. What's the 5th person? All good person. Yeah, good by body, good by speech, good by mind. The Buddha says, then you are really thirsty, it's a really hot day, you come across a cool water pond, nice cool water pond. So here the Buddha says, you jump inside, then drink as much water you like, and lie down under the shade of a tree right next to the pond. Don't let them go. If you find good, kind, wise people, hang on to them. Yeah, be around them. They are very rare in the world. But when you find these kinds of people, it's very good to associate them completely by whole body. Jump inside, drink as much, stay close to them. This is how your association really helps you. It's not a small point. It's a really, really important point. This Asevanacha Bharana Panditana. It's a blessing, isn't it? Having good people in your life is a real blessing. But having fools in our lives is the opposite of a blessing. Yeah, it's a danger. So
You also have to want to be a good person.
yeah, that's a gift.
Nowadays, they're so confused, and it's easier to be. Anyway, you have to really have to go against the stream, as the Buddha said, And it's ever so more relevant today.
Anybody has any stories to share where they have changed by a good association? I remember, I forgot your name. In the corner, you were at the Vesak event. What's your name? Upali. You were mentioning about, I remember your story when you came as a student, some people helping you, going out, strangers helping you, yeah? I'm sure that has made an impact in your life, isn't it? Because that, I remember saying, you were telling others and how you also then, that triggered you to also do similar. So see somebody kind, somebody wise, somebody who was generous and kind to a stranger, changed your psyche. And I'm sure your actions have changed somebody else. So this is a really nice example. I remember your story because it was quite powerful. But like that, isn't it? Yeah.
I have a similar story.
Yeah.
It was like when I went, when I came to Australia, when I went to the people,
Yeah.
to friends, basically there was one person. He had bad habits, of course,
Yeah.
but his speech was very good.
Right.
So he was very cool and calm person, and he would listen to me basically, and
Yeah.
he would answer
Yeah.
my questions in a very thoughtful way.
Mm.
He will direct me, he will help me.
Mm.
So that was one of the reason actually. I thought just by good speech, basically you can actually, even though there are some bad habits that you can carry, but with good speech, basically you can become can actually make more friends or basically you can change the situations.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah.
No, that's really some of these things we can't learn from words. Yeah, by looking. There's something else, yes?
Yeah, so actually, I don't have a experience, but I just question. So, you talked about that we always have to be good association, always be with the good people. But then at the same time, if we see around, we have friends, family, like they have one or another bad qualities. So it is always difficult to select the person, or maybe it's like a group to be associated with. So it is always worthwhile to change that person or let them know that this is a bad habit, we need to change, or it's not, or you should just ignore that person or just get out of that group, or how do you?
Not a straightforward answer, but a very important question. Yeah, there's not a straightforward answer that works for all. So it depends on the person. Yeah, it depends on who they are and what that is. So if it is somebody that you can not associate, that's all right. but also as you're associating, if that is a person, your good quality is going to change them. It's not by speech, but by your action. So if you happen to have the opposite good quality of whatever the bad quality they have, and if you're strong in your own good quality, then your association might gradually help to change them to become good. And this happens quite a lot. Leverage is very important with your peers, especially. Yeah. So that can happen. But again, it depends on that other person, what they are capable of. And if not, then what you do is you leave whatever that is unskillful behind, but associate in your mind whatever the good they have. Yeah, because most people have something good. Yeah. And treat the good side. This is very important. There was a story with Ajahn Brahm visited a hospital, a mental hospital, and there were schizophrenic people. And then he asked the doctor, the psychiatrist, so how do you treat schizophrenia? He said, I don't treat the schizophrenia, I treat their good side. Yeah. Because it's sometimes hard, some of those things don't have a solution. Yeah, it's a condition, it just is there, but you can't treat that side, you encourage the good. So sometimes what you do, you appreciate and you try to pull out whatever good that is in that person. And that itself slowly might change the other person. But we have to be very careful. We have to know our own limits. If you, by trying to do that, if you start to see that they're actually more powerful than you, and you are actually getting sucked into their bad, then you need to take a step back and have a break. But if you are much stronger and grounded in your own good, and your association can help. So you have to be careful, but we just have to do this.
Yeah. Can I add something? In some situation, when you see something really bad is happening, I had to learn not to say don't do it, but I would say I wouldn't do it because this particular act may have some consequences. So I don't challenge the person, I'm better, I wouldn't, I would just say I wouldn't do it, but I would consider it may have some consequences, and up to you, that kind of thing. So it's not good to challenge and put the people in a corner because it sometimes makes it worse and you don't actually help. And so I must have some experience because you're fine.
Yeah, I was just thinking about because ask and told concept that you mentioned. Yes. Often I did have a similar kind of an attitude where I wouldn't realize what I was saying. Abruptly I would just say and without realizing what I was saying sometimes. And particularly when I was at work, my usual habit, I would just give command, right? Like telling them. And when I was working with a different manager, I did realize that he had a very different style. And he would always say, hey, do you have a minute to, right? He would basically would know from my calendar that I have like entire hour free, but he would be like, hey, do you have a minute to talk about it? Could you please let me know when you are free to talk about it? Or something like that. Would you be able to do this? Can you kindly do this? So something like that. Now I started to realize that how rude I was. Right?
You had the same thing, right?
And then that entirely changed.
What would come on you
Exactly.
to actually meet such a person?
Right? Exactly. And then
It's a blessing.
that's a blessing.
This is why it's a blessing for me as well when I come across good people with good behaviors, good speech. It's such a blessing. You really want to keep them in your pocket. And also the listener, like what you said, we are all quite good at speaking. Quite a lot of people, we are good at expressing out there. And how good are we at listening? And this is really important, right? Communication is not great. Like in a dhamma talk, you will listen. But in a day-to-day one-on-one communications, listening is so important, but the right way. Not listening with your own commentary and all that, really totally listening at the time. Again, words cannot tell how to do it. But if you stay with somebody who is a good listener, it's incredible how you learn to listen. So you have to find these good and hang around with them to learn and build up good skill. Yeah, it's really important.
Just a kind of free of charge.
Yeah, that's why it's a blessing sometimes for us to live in a large monastic community, because there are different kind of monastics. So each one has something to offer, so you can associate those things. Of course, we are also not perfect. We don't associate those people. So, yes.
Sorry for, I think that's a silly question, but if you come across a good listener,
Yeah.
and he's listening very nicely, calmly, but he's not reacting or either responding. Yes.
That is important, yeah?
Yes.
So some people, that's not good. Some people, these are like, and you ask a question, they are somewhere else. That's a quite rude person.
They don't care. Some people don't care. That's the thing.
So that's not a good listener, yeah? And the worst
That's very
kind.
hurtful. That's very hurtful.
That's actually the worst kind. At least if you know that you're listening and you show yourself, that's one thing. At least you're not wasting your time. But they pretend to listen, and you thought that if given the instruction, they have agreed to do it, and they go. That's really bad. It's not a good listener. Yeah, it's not a good listener. But good point, not a silly question, but it is good. So it's important how to understand whether somebody is actually properly listening or not.
It comes back to honesty, coming back to simple honesty. Yeah, isn't it?
This happens in marriages and when you offer the husband because selective listeners. Yes, darling. Okay. What did I say? No stress. Well, we also need to learn to cope with situations. Yes.
So we've been talking about conditioning,
Yeah.
but you see that sometimes some people, even in bad conditioning, can get out being very good people.
Yeah.
And the opposite happens as well.
That's true.
So how much of it is our personality and our, our own consciousness versus?
Thank you for bringing this extremely important point. This actually, I need to go over time to explain this because this is so true. Right? So
we got 10 more minutes.
Okay. Dinner is late? Okay.
No, we forgot to bring the cutlery, so you can. That's a blessing.
That's all right. That's all right. We have our hands too. So anyway, so it also depends. Now I'm going to tell a story from Ajahn Brahm's life. Ajahn Brahm is our teacher, an incredibly great monk. Now his grandfather was a very abusive man. So his grandfather, this is Ajahn Brahm's grandfather, comes home drunk. And he would take out his belt. And he would belt his children and his wife. Quite a terrible place to be. They are really difficult, unkind person. So often in the world, not always, often in the world, if you were at the end of the belt, you also end up being somebody like that. This is quite common, but not always. Now, Ajahn Brahm's father, who was at the end of that belt, made a decision, saying, I would never do that to my kids. So he was an extremely kind person. If you read his book, Opening the Door of Your Heart, the story is about his father opening his door of his heart to his son. Very kind. So again, he got a very abusive father. In this occasion, the son didn't end up being a very abusive father to his son. So this is where you wonder how that he got that mention, but he didn't end up like that. So that is why I mentioned in the very beginning, we can't pinpoint exactly. Like that is called gaslighting. It is multiple causes and conditions. It is about our spiritual faculties. So how developed are we? So if we are quite developed in our wisdom, in our compassion, in our kindness, it's still a conditioning. It was still a conditioning, but the decision was different. He got conditioned by getting beaten up, but by that beating up, he decided not to do it. Yeah, because he had a very well developed spiritual faculty from the past. Again, it's built up from the past. Yeah. So this is there. That's why I said you can't tell exactly why what you do, it's a multiple causes and conditions. It is conditioning. But why people are conditioned in different ways, just exposed to the similar kind of things, outcome is not the same, is because of who you are and where you are at your spiritual journey, in your own development. So if you have lots of wisdom, lots of right view, lots of compassion, kindness, all of those good qualities, then whatever conditioning you got, your outcome is going to be different. It's still a conditioning, but it is about who you are as well. But if you're somebody who is really, quite not so wise, not so kind, more prone to anger, then you did this to me, I'll do that to you, kind of revenge taking will happen. But whatever it is, that is a very important point. That's why we can't tell when you see somebody, oh, you are like that, it's because of this. That judgment we can never come to. But whatever it is, something has conditioned. That is a very important point. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Was this helpful? Was this session helpful? The way we do things, is that going okay so far?
Yes.
Yes. So give us feedback. And was 2 hours manageable with all that breakup? Were you okay with the kids session? Yeah. Yeah. Do you think the kids learn something? Yeah. So slowly, when you go home, also because you've done as a family, you can talk about these associations from time to time, because this is how it is. It's not about listening. I like to do this as very practical. Yeah, dhamma is there and they're very practical to apply to our lives and big benefit. We don't have a lot of time. So this is not more about intellectual stuff. We can do that as well at times, but I'm starting with very practical things. So, why do you need to go, or you're standing like that because you're uncomfortable? All right. So, give me some feedback if you need to. So, I thought about just going through the Mangala Sutta and the blessings, because they're very powerful teachings. They are Buddha's teachings, and we can go deeper as well at different points. So what we touched today is a very deep topic. We can go much deeper into this, but time is limited, and also our attention span is limited, right? So we take little doses, apply that, and we go deeper another time. Yeah. Okay, so then we can end our session for today. Enjoy a nice dinner together, and just to let everybody know, so how this works, because we know Sunday is an interesting day and this is an interesting time. If you also have to organize your own dinner, it's hard to come here. So we have a very simple dinner, but a yummy dinner from a restaurant, and given at a very, very cheap price. So they are very nice restaurant called Colors of India, but this time anyway. So, but of course, somebody's got to pay for it. We call it a free dinner, but of course, it's a contribution. So you are welcome to contribute towards the cost of the dinner if you wish. Whoever who likes, others can enjoy, and you can take turns. Just to say that, so not one person gets bankrupt at the end of all it having to pay. But if everybody chips in a little bit, then you can all have a nice meal together and have a bit of time to meet friends. Yeah. All right. Okay. So enjoy your rest of the